What's up guys, my name is Liam and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new mouse pads from Zowie. I have the GSR3, the HSR SE, which is pretty much the same thing as the GSR SE2. I'll explain that to you here shortly. And then we also have the GTR and the HTR. It's no question that Zowie has made some of the most iconic esports mouse pads of all time. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to break down the differences with the changes, and hopefully I'll be able to help you guys decide whether or not one of these could possibly be the perfect mouse pad for you. So let's check it out. Before we get started today, I did want to let you know that these were sent out to me. However, everything you're going to be hearing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. So as far as the packaging goes, the HSR SE and the GSR3, they did arrive to me rolled up in this packaging. The brand new GTR and HTR, they do come flat packaged. And I did just want to explain the differences in the naming schemes here, because at first it was a little bit confusing to me. So the GTR and the HTR, these are actually the same mouse pad. The differences in the naming really just comes down to the sizing. The GTR comes in the standard sizing, so it sits at 470 millimeters in width by 390 millimeters in height, and all of these mouse pads are sitting at 3.5 millimeters in thickness. The difference with the HTR is this is the bigger size, coming in at 500 millimeters in width by 500 millimeters in height. And the same thing applies to the other mouse pads as well, with the difference in the name. So the HSR SE sits at 500 by 500, whereas the GSR SE2 is the same mouse pad, but it just sits in at the 470 by 390 size. And then same thing with the GSR3, 470 by 390. If you got the HSR3, it's going to come in at the 500 by 500. So we'll go and start out with the HSR SE, also the GSR SE2. Compared to the previous versions of the GSR SE, the base on these is still similar, but it is using this new design where it does offer more grip. And it is actually a pretty big difference. I have noticed that once I've gotten these seated to my desk, they are a lot harder to move around. And though this is using the same surface as the GSR SE, they did make the surfaces tighter. And the reason that they did that is it's supposed to improve the consistency of the mouse pad over long-term use. So for those of you that do use Zowie mouse pads or have used them in the past, know that sometimes you can get them, they'll be a little bit quicker out of the box, and they can tend to slow down over time. So this should help out with the consistency. Now, I've heard from people in the past that the red version is a little bit quicker than these, but going back and forth and testing the surfaces on these, the performance of them feel very similar to one another. They feel almost identical, even with the speed. There is some differences though that I do notice. However, coming down in the micro adjustments, I do notice a little bit more of tugging going on back and forth down here in the micro adjustments, where this one just feels a little bit smoother to me. So again, you still get that same control, and this red copy, it does feel just slightly a hair bit quicker than this one, but again, not too much of a difference. The overall performance of these do feel really similar. So let's go ahead and I'll drop the glide test between both of them. So next up, when it comes to the GSR3 or the HSR3, pretty much the same thing as the HSR SE. You're going to have the new base on here that is a lot more sticky. Again, the properties of the base as far as the plushness goes and the responsiveness and the rebound time going to be the same, still sitting at 3.5 millimeters in thickness. And same thing goes with the surface. This does have a little bit of a tighter weave. Now, one thing to note about the GSR2, it's without question one of my favorite control mouse pads out there. I've put a ton of use on my copy. When I did first get out of the box, it felt a little bit quicker, and I did feel like it did slow down a little bit over time. So for this one, having a little bit of a tighter surface and supposed to maintain a greater consistency over time, I did notice that this does feel a little bit quicker just out of the box, just the glide speed, and even down here in the micro adjustments as you're using these back and forth, it still has the same great stopping power and everything like that as the previous one, but you do come out of a stop a little bit easier, and you don't notice as much tugging going back and forth in the micro corrections. So I will go ahead and drop a glide test comparison between the GSR2 and the GSR3. And when I was comparing the GSR3 to the brand new HSR SE, I did notice traditionally that the GSR SE is a little bit quicker than the GSR. I still did find that this holds true between both of them. So let's go ahead and drop the glide test between the GSR3 and the HSR SE. All right, so finally, when it comes to the GTR and the HDR, same thing. This does come with the anti-slip base, but this base is different from the HSR SE and even the GSR3. This does feel a lot more plush, and it is a lot easier to press into. Even if I were just to pick up the sides here and pull, you can see the elasticity of it. So very soft. This feels very similar to something like an X-Soft style base, and with the softness of the base, it does stick to your desk a lot better. Once I do stick this to my desk, I do have generally a hard time moving it around. You pretty much just have to peel it off the desk to reseat it. This does have stitched edges, and since the base is softer, the stitching does appear to be slightly below the surface itself. So the stitching does sit even a little bit lower than the GSR3. And when it comes to the surface, this is using the same surface as the GSR3, so it is a cloth surface. However, with that being said, with the properties of this mouse pad with the base, the surface does feel like it is softer. It is easier to move around, as I was showing you with the stretching, and easier to press into. So how that translates with this pad is the speed difference between this and the GSR, not really that far apart from one another, but really depending just on how you use this. For example, when I use my mouse, I usually put weight on the top of my mouse. So the lighter you are, the speed difference between this and the GSR SE, they can come out to be pretty similar. I did find, however, when I was using this, that this just feels just a little bit slower to me and a little bit more controlled. I do feel like this does have a little bit of a greater sense of stopping power as well. Obviously, since it is very plush, it is a lot easier to push into and to stop really easily on a dime. And Zowie really had two major focuses when designing this. They wanted it to have great stopping power, but also with that being said, is they didn't want it to feel too muddy. So with this surface, you do get a great sense of control, but it doesn't feel like it's too sticky or anything like that. You're able to come to a stop and then get moving in the opposite direction really quickly. And even though this base has a similar feeling to the touch as an X-Soft style base, the thing that makes it so unique is it has an incredibly fast rebound time. And the rebound time is so fast, it almost makes it feel instantaneous. So to demonstrate the glide speed between this and the GSR3, I'll go ahead and drop a glide test really quick. And just for fun, I will go ahead and throw this up against the HSR SE, even though that is quicker than the GSR3, just to kind of give you guys an idea on where these look in terms of speed. All right, guys, so that about wraps things up on the brand new mouse pads from Zowie, and I really feel like they've done a great job with all of these. Not only did they just give us a bigger size, which a lot of people were asking for, I do really feel like the update on the base is a big improvement, and I have been enjoying the improvements on the tightness of the surface. Again, feels very similar to before, just a slight difference. It's going to be interesting for me to see how these do hold up in time. I believe I've been using these for about a week now, so I haven't had a very long time to get them broken in, but I am really looking forward to the HSR3 since the GSR2, one of my favorite mouse pads out there. And like I said, that HSR SE, I do prefer it over my previous version of the Gris. As for the GTR and the HTR, these pads feel great. They kind of feel like a little bit more of a premium version. For my personal preference, I have been sticking more to mid-style bases or firmer style bases a little bit more recently. If you are somebody who prefers a little additional stopping power, perhaps a little bit more control by being able to push into the mouse pad easier, I would recommend the HTR, the GTR, checking these out. Again, you're gonna have pretty much a somewhat similar feeling to the GSR3. If you care to know my personal opinion on what my choice out of all of them is, I really, like I said, love the GSR2. That HSR3 is going to be my number one pick, or the GSR3 is my favorite so far out of all of them. But really, all three of them feel great. I would just pick based on what your preference is with the difference in the performance. So if you guys have any additional questions or feel like I left anything out, please let me know down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.